Buenas galera, tudo bom? Eu sou o Rodrigo Bueno e no vídeo de hoje a gente vai descobrir um ingrediente secreto que vem mudando o brisket de muita gente. Então, bora pro vídeo. Seria esse o segredo do sucesso? O segredo do sabor incrível do brisket? Aí, ó, o Steve diz que descobriu aqui o segredo do sucesso.
Never even heard of, and maybe more are using it as well. So in this video, I'm testing it out on a brisket to see if it makes a Texas-style brisket taste better.
Ele vai testar aí esse segredo, ver se funciona, e se funcionar ele vai mostrar se realmente vai ficar bom.
77 pointed out that Chef Ara from Harlem Road Barbecue
Ó, teve um Chef Horror aqui. Ele tá usando sumac.
It's a type of berry that's dried, then it's ground up, and it's turned into a
Sumac, vamos ver como é que se chama em português isso aí.
Chef Ara uses it in his brisket rub at his restaurant in a ratio of approximately 1 part sumac to 4 parts salt and pepper.
Uma parte de sumac para
Texas-style brisket rub, but Cool J
sumac.
that it adds a bit of citrusy flavor to the brisket, and he also mentioned that Max from Texarkana Barbecue likes to use it sometimes.
Sumagre.
Better bark on the brisket. Now I reached out to Max to see if he has any thoughts on this, and if he gets back to me, I will leave it in a comment.
Sumagre.
I'll be honest with you guys, I was initially
Vamos lá, sumagre. Vem de uma planta chamada Rus. Um gênero botânico pertencente à família dos Anacardiaceae. Que dá o tempero do sumagre. Vamos ver.
skeptical about using this weird ingredient on my brisket. It seems kind of exotic, and I've never even
Exótico. Também acho meio exótico. Eu nunca tinha ouvido. Já tinha ouvido falar porque a gente já mostrou aqui, mas vamos ver. A gente mostrou, acho que numa receita, acho que de pastrame ou de bacon de alguém, acho que foi do Guga Foods.
It's kind of like dried blueberries or something similar to that, but a
Eles falam que tem um sabor
little sweeter almost. So
parecido
flavor, and I
com,
think it could go
com a páprica, mas só que com um toque de limão, uma coisa assim.
heavy fattiness and saltiness and pepperiness with a little bit of acidity and acid to go on the sides of the tongue and just in general round out the flavor. So I'm hopeful, but we won't know until we actually try it out on a brisket.
Ele tá esperançoso, mas vamos ver.
Brisket, I want to talk about another amazing rub.
Tá fazendo propagandinha aqui do
The amazing balanced flavor that goes great.
propaganda.
Backyard barbecue or competition cooking, sure shot below.
Propaganda.
Check it out and buy some for yourself. All right, let's get back to rubbing this brisket. All right,
Vamos lá.
what I'm going to start with is a base
Nossa, o que aconteceu com o som, cara?
of coarse cracked pepper and a
Ó.
quarter cup of kosher salt.
Um quarto de copo de pimenta do reino, um quarto de copo de sal ele tá usando.
Aaron Franklin's ratio that he's mentioned in
Meia meio.
what's it called? His Aaron Franklin's book, A Meat Smoking Manifesto.
Aí, ó.
So that's what
Tá usando receita do Franklin.
rub, and then I also add a tablespoon of Lowry's,
Tá usando o Lawis, que todo mundo usa.
and for the sumac, I have no idea how much to add, but I did find one recipe on the internet for a brisket
Ó, ele achou uma receita que tem sumac e ele vai usar aqui.
sumac in it. I'll link it in the description section below, and it was about 1/10 of a part of sumac to 10
Uma parte de sumac para 9 partes de outros ingredientes.
ingredients, so that works out to around a tablespoon. So let's start
Ele vai usar uma colher, uma colher de sopa,
right now. So starting
no caso do dele aí.
cracked black
Ali, ó.
pepper. This is Clubhouse brand.
Bonita essa pimenta, hein?
Than 16 mesh, which Aaron Franklin uses a lot, but I find it's still pretty similar and has a nice granule size. And now a quarter cup of kosher salt,
Aí, ó. Sal entre fino.
Diamond Crystal, or really any other brand. I just like the stuff that doesn't have a lot of powder in it. It's consistent and there's large granules throughout.
Bonito.
And now
Vamos
I'm
lá.
going to add a tablespoon of Lowry's.
Uma
A lot of people use this on
a
their brisket.
tablespoon, uma colher de sopa.
Aaron Franklin has even said that he's used Lowry's in the past. He said that in an interview with Daniel Vaughn in Texas Monthly.
Todo mundo agora usa esse negócio aí misturado. Aí. Então já deixou de ser só sal e pimenta do reino, né? E agora o sumac.
You'll probably get another brand if you live in the US. This was a brand, I think, from Canada. Could be wrong about that. Just check out on Amazon and get ground sumac. And it smells really citrusy. I think it's
Ó, tem um cheiro cítrico. Parece uma berry.
Smelling ground up dried berries. Very citrusy, tart. And I think that a whole tablespoon of one will actually
Ó, uma colher de
be
sopa.
a good ratio here. Yeah, I think that's more than
Ó, vamos ver, vamos ver. Interessante.
So I'm going to give this a little bit of a shake.
Dá uma mexidinha.
Yet. And then what I like to do, and this is something I've been doing recently, it's still TBD whether it's a good idea or not. I've been testing it. I don't know if it helps the rub stick or if it prevents the rub from sticking to the brisket or has any other detrimental effects. But one thing it does for sure is this spray-on vegetable oil really helps the rub bind, especially if you have things like Lowry's and which has.
Ele faz o rub ficar mais, as coisas mais finas grudar nas mais grossas dentro do hub quando ele bota um spray lá. A gente já mostrou isso. Aí, ó. Eu nunca tentei ainda.
And I shake it vigorously. Look, I got some of my beard hair on there. Get rid of that. That could have added some extra.
Uma barba caiu também, né?
And if you taste the rub after putting the oil in it, it actually tastes better. It blends the flavors together a little bit.
Ó, ele falou que ele mistura melhor os sabores.
So far, using a little bit of that spray vegetable oil. But we'll see.
Então o hub fica mais gostoso. Ó, bonito. Bonito, cara.
Just some water.
Jogou água.
Just helps the rub stick.
Ajuda o hub a grudar, ele falou.
Whoa, there's some trim there.
Um pedaço de limpeza.
Yeah, this water just helps the salt kind of dissolve and penetrate and dry.
E ajuda o sal a dissolver e penetrar mais fácil.
It has to extract water from the brisket.
Não precisa extrair a água do brisket para fazer isso, então ele usa essa água para dissolver o sal. Lá vai ele.
Give it a nice even coat.
Bem uniforme. Nas laterais.
It doesn't like to stick to the fat cap as much, or this hard part on the side, so I usually give it a little bit more water on those edges.
Pode botar um pouquinho mais de água na gordura, ele tá falando aqui. Então tá passando o hub, bem bonitão. Virou.
Give it another pass.
Mais uma passadinha.
Okay, and I'll give you guys a close up here. It's looking.
Tem uns vermelhinhos ali, uns negócios perdidos ali.
That red sumac really adds some color, and it darkens up the brisket already quite a bit. Usually, when I rub a brisket, it's a lot lighter than this. It looks like
Ele diz que fica mais claro, tem esse vermelhinho aí do sumac aí.
we put it on the smoker. So I'm going to vac seal this because I'm smoking it in a few days, so it'll dry brine in the vac seal, and then I'll take it out and I will put it on the smoker.
Ó, ele vai deixar agora no... Ele vai deixar... Ele guardou ele e depois defumou uns dias depois. Não...
At around 250 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I started ramping it up to 270.
Ele tá fazendo no modelo offset, no reverse flow. Ó, tá bonito.
Bald spot kind of pumping out moisture on the flat, so I
170 Fahrenheit, o editor vai botar aí. Ó, ele levantou um pouquinho porque tava empoçando água ali, ó.
boiled off the flat so it wouldn't overcook. But most importantly, 7 hours into the cook, I noticed that the brisket bark was a lot darker than my other brisket.
Ó, 7 horas depois ele falou que normalmente não fica tão escuro assim, que ele achou que o sumac ali, o sumac ele deixou mais escuro.
Theory that the sumac helps with the bark in some way. And then at around the 12-hour mark, the brisket
12 horas depois.
90 everywhere I probed. So I took it off the smoker, I wrapped it with clarified.
Ó, tá pretão, hein, cara?
Again, I was surprised at how dark the brisket was at this point. Usually my briskets are dark after 12 hours, but this brisket is jet black.
Ele falou que normalmente fica preto, mas não tão preto assim.
For 15 to 20 hours at 150.
E agora ele vai deixar descansar lá dentro, lá por 15 horas, 20 horas. Nesse negócio aquecido ali. Fica aquecido, se eu não me engano, a 60 graus. 65. Ó. Não tem luva, vai sem luva.
Put some of that yummy goodness on the board. And let's do the big reveal here.
Uau, tá bonitão, hein, cara?
Look at that. Looking pretty nice.
Tá
Smells
bonito.
really smoky. I don't really smell any other hints of like
Não sente nada a não ser defumação.
or sweetness from the sumac. Just smells like a regular brisket to me so far, but we're gonna slice into this thing and we're gonna see if the sumac actually made a difference and if you should pay attention to it and maybe go buy some in the link below with my Amazon affiliate link.
Vamos ver se vai precisar comprar ou não.
Has no impact on the taste of the brisket. And this whole video was just a waste of time.
E o vídeo todo foi uma perda de tempo. Vamos ver.
Up there.
Olha,
Slicing like a dream.
cortou bem mesmo.
Get some tallow on there. Get some tallow on there.
Tá meio escuro, né, a gordura? Passou um telo ali.
Go, guys. Looking pretty tasty.
Nossa, tá bonito, hein?
Ooh, delish. I have noticed that the board tallow has picked up a little bit of a darker hue.
Ele falou que a gordura da tábua tá mais escura.
For the sumac, could be any one of these two things, or something else. Okay, we'll slice.
Tá muito bonito, tá muito bonito. Cortando.
Looking pretty nice. Pull it apart. Pulls apart really nicely.
Tá bem feito, tá bem feito. Vamos ver o gosto. Quero saber do gosto.
Oh yeah, can definitely taste the sumac.
Ele disse que dá pra sentir.
What the sumac tastes like when it's raw. It just has a little bit less of an oomph as it does when it's raw. It feels like that flavor of the raw.
Ó, dá pra sentir praticamente a mesma coisa.
But you can definitely still taste that same flavor profile. It's kind
A
of
mesma,
a little bit of acidity
pouquinho de
on the
acidez.
sides of the tongue. It has a really nice flavor. I actually like
Tem
it a
um
lot.
bom gosto.
It's adding a lot of sweetness. Okay, I'm gonna
E
try
traz uma doçura.
tens over here, and we'll give that a taste. Oh,
Só que ele fica menos pungente de quando ele tá cru.
yeah. Again, it adds a bit of acidity. It rounds out the flavor of the smoke and the salt and the pepper a little bit more. I'm actually really liking it. I'm actually really liking it. The
Gostou
sumac
bastante.
sort of infuses with the tallow a little bit, and when you get the tallow on the slices, you get a bit of sumac flavor on the actual slices themselves and not just the bark. And it tastes
Ah,
really,
tem
not really, but a little bit lemony on the sides of the tongue.
pouquinho
It just
de
rounds out the
limão.
flavor a lot more with that tartness and that bitterness and that acidity and a hint of sweetness. So, what are my conclusions on this? Should you use sumac in your brisket rub? I would say yes, you should definitely try it. I really liked it in this video.
Ó, tem que testar pelo menos, ele fala. E ficou bem diferente.
And the rub, so that it had a little bit of acidity on the sides of the tongue, it had a little bit of sweetness, and it wasn't so salty.
Deixa um pouquinho de acidez, um
A
pouquinho,
little bit of those extra
pouquinho de doçura.
flavors that were really in the background. In my opinion, it also helped to darken up the bark a little bit. And
E ajuda a escurecer o barco. Ó, interessante.
sure it could just be this brisket. I need to test it out a little bit more to be sure. But the one thing I can be sure of is that yes, sumac is a really good ingredient to add to a brisket rub. It does go really well with the flavors of a brisket. You should definitely try it out. I put a link in the description section below.
Ó, viu? Então, conclusão. Tente fazer que vale a pena. Bom, turma. Ingrediente secreto revelado. Sumac. Deixou um barque maravilhoso. Ele estava usando um reverse flow. A gente já viu num vídeo anterior aí que o reverse flow deixava o barque menos escuro. Esse ficou muito bonito. Então, acho que vale a pena o teste. Esse sabor me deixou curioso. Essa questão dessa acidez e doçura, né, nesse sal e pimenta do reino. Olha, um SPG talvez com um pouquinho de sumac. Acho que vai ficar legal, hein? Bom, eu vou testar, espero que você teste. Deixa o like aí, se inscreve no canal para receber mais conteúdo como esse. Tamo junto e um abraço.